Who is up for some mistletoe mischief?
Oh my gosh. I am.
Well, the topic today, as we're getting ready to head into the holidays, is the holiday quickie. Mm-hmm. Now, what is a quickie?
Well, that's a good question. And actually, we surveyed a few people, and the answer had quite a range.
Okay.
The first answer we got was between 10 to 15 minutes, which I think that's like a reasonable quickie in my books. A quick quickie would be like 2 to 5 minutes, I think.
And this isn't necessarily just penetration, I'm guessing. This is like you start making out and however long you have your
I think when people mean quickie, they often mean like penetrative sex.
Oh, well then 10 to 15 minutes, like they're doing pretty good if that's their quickie. That's the average. That's in the range of the average length of a woman to have an orgasm. And
that's why quickies,
like double or 3 times a man.
The definition of a quickie is really independent.
All right. Well, when I think of quickie, there's a couple things that come to my mind.
All right.
One is shorter period of time, which I guess you're saying is relative.
Yeah.
There's also kind of like this idea that you move quick. I don't think it has to necessarily be that way.
No, you don't move quick. It just happens quickly.
Yeah, but normally it's kind of like a Fast and Furious. That's what that's kind of depicted.
I think slow quickies.
I'm not debating that. We have quickies that could be 10, 15 minutes, which that could be like 3 months worth of sex for some couples.
Jeez.
Now, then there's also something about spontaneity. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, boom, it happens on you fast. It's not necessarily anticipated. It could be anytime, anywhere. It's like the BMF belt. The one in UFC, the baddest motherfucker belt.
Hey.
Oh, we're not supposed to say that online?
No.
Okay, well, I think it'll be okay. Well,
you'll have to beep that out.
Well, the BMF belt does like, you'll fight anyone, anytime, anywhere. So this is like anyone, anytime,
not anyone, anytime, anywhere.
Your partner, it's a quickie.
Okay. Oh, that doesn't mean anyone.
Well, when we went to the infamous, or not infamous, the really great butt bespoke surgeon, and he was talking about homosexual culture, and he was saying that definitely the anytime, anywhere, anyone was part of it.
He's in New York. It's within the New York culture. I don't know if that's true necessarily everywhere.
Sure. And he said the New York gay culture too.
They are devoted, dedicated couples. They're raising children, and there's still this permission if they meet someone hot to enjoy a little quickie on their way home from work.
All right.
Something like that.
Well, now that we have a general idea of what quickie means for a broad spectrum of definition, you'll have to figure out what that means for yourself.
I think it's great. Well, let's jump into like what to expect if you've never had a quickie. For some people, they really don't like it.
Well, I'd say that these expectations is kind of what make it
good or bad
for people.
Okay.
So the typical question I think that we spoke a little bit about is like, how long does it last?
Yeah, it's like, what am I in for?
Yeah.
Because I definitely have had people like, I don't want to do that because they thought they were in for something that was going to be quite extended. When I was like, no, actually, it could just be a moment. Yeah,
so that's the kind of thing. It's like, oh yeah, well, it's kind of like just the tip, and then you end up like balls deep. Like a quickie is like, oh, it's a quickie, and then next thing you know.
Well, sometimes that happens, but.
So that's one of the reasons, though, people can have.
I just think the nice frame for quickie is, as you said, something a little more spontaneous, something that doesn't require as much energy and attention, and something where you get to connect in a way that nourishes both people, and then you go on with your work day or whatever else you're doing.
Well, and that's, I think, maybe the other expectation is, well, if we don't know how long it takes, or especially this is the other one, does the person need to come? Like, do you need to have an orgasm for it to stop?
Because some people are like, I don't even want to do that if I'm not going to come.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, well, for me, I don't need that as an experience of the quickie.
Yeah, and that would also then tend to make it long, or also puts a lot of pressure on the person too, like performing.
Yeah, exactly. And if for some people it wouldn't work very well unless they are exceptionally skilled at getting their own body ready for a quickie, because especially the female body isn't ready for penetration, it could not feel nice if things happen too fast.
So yes, you have like painful.
But you could have like an oral quickie.
You could have an oral quickie as well, and again.
That sounds like an Oreo cookie.
Jeez. I think the other reason why, so if you have painful, you also have maybe this kind of distracting quality to it. People are like, oh, well, if I do that, then I'm going to be flustered the rest of the day. Or I have my list of to-dos, and so you're just going to throw off my rhythm that isn't going to fit in,
I want people to think back, though, to if you are in a partnered situation, think back to when you first met your partner and how exciting it was and how you wanted to sneak in as many opportunities to connect as you could. What we're suggesting is that a quickie is actually not just a quickie. It's actually a really important part of maintaining erotic charge in a connection.
Yes.
So let's just say a little bit more, like we went over a few things, but what would like a really good quickie be like for you?
A really good quickie. Well, it is definitely something that it charges me up. It gives me more energy. It typically also leaves me buzzing and wanting my partner more. So it's sort of this prelude or the appetizer or appetizer for the main course, which,
so you like spontaneity.
I love the spontaneity of it. I love like the typically like very sexual like nature of it too. It's can be very animalistic. But then also I really like just feeling one of two things. One, I like feeling the desire of my partner for me to just always want me, or it's the other part too, that I have something that they really desire, and it just like blows their mind for those moments that we have together, and then just like kind of go back to the day as if nothing happened, but of course something did.
I sometimes experience, like, for me, a good quickie is I'm maybe super inspired with what I'm doing, with my creation, with work, and maybe I don't have anyone around, and I'll go have a quickie with myself. And that's exciting to me. I'm like, oh, I'm being naughty. I'm just taking a moment during the workday. And I go and connect with myself. And sometimes literally 30 seconds or a minute because I don't have a lot of time. And it's just that maybe I'll just put a hand over the vulva and I might even just rock into it a little bit, but there's not even nakedness. So it just depends on timing. Sometimes there is like more touch.
Yeah, sometimes you're right. It is just a touch. I mean, I'll kind of take my hand and like cup under my testicles or along, give a kind of like a rub along my perineum, or depending, because a lot of times I'm not fully dressed or I'm just in boxers or whatever, and so I'll just kind of give it a little tug and pull on it.
Jeez.
And then just, tuck it back in and keep going. Yeah,
so I think we could broaden the definition of quickie so it doesn't just have to mean with a partner.
Yes.
And what's great about that is, at least for me, is to maintain a sense of erotic charge throughout my life. And then if I'm doing that throughout the day, even if it's a busy day, then I cannot wait to connect with my partner at the end because I've been like charged up thinking about them a little bit and just like,
Yeah, I love the... This is another part of of the quickie that I really enjoy, though, is where you sort of hint at your partner that it's going to be coming up, and then they're all excited for it when they return home.
Yes, I also really like just suddenly, specifically with you, like if we're working in the same space, then we suddenly both look up from across the room and I'm like, oh, I want that. Yeah, and then it's like it's on, but then we're busy, so we have to like get back to work.
We're gonna have a little interlude right here.
Yeah, bye. So why are they important? Why are quickies necessary? And we wanted to bring this up for the holiday season because we just feel like in the holidays, this is where we get super stressed. We actually get disconnected when we need to be connected, and the energy of the holiday season is about love. It's about connection. It's about giving each other gifts, and I think one of the best gifts to give each other is pleasure. Yeah.
Well, and normally during the holidays too, it kind of gets thrown to the wayside because there's so much family around.
And a lot of busyness.
Lots of busyness, like meeting like different deadlines, trying to get all kinds of to-dos done. Just there's a lot going on. And so sometimes, and I think the family factor is especially difficult for people because somehow family and sex, even though you don't get a family without sex, is
those are kind of kept separate for a lot of people. Yeah. Well, I think a big one, so say it is the holiday season, everyone's busy, it's just chaos, and maybe you have emotional stress around in-laws being around, and there's all kinds of stuff like this. A quickie and regular quickies with your partner, and I don't just mean like penetrative sex, I mean maybe just have a really hot, passionate kiss in the kitchen pantry, or like just little ways of like having hot connection can actually really shift your nervous system from an agitated, stressed response and bring it into more social engagement and nourishment. And that's really important. Couples don't understand how the role of pleasure, especially during the holidays, could really transform their holiday experience.
Well, because it does it, one, for you as an individual, but it does it for your partner. But then with the partnership as like a foundational unit of a healthy, thriving family, you're also regulating the space.
Exactly.
Because if the mother and father are kind of at each other, like the whole family is going to feel that.
Exactly.
But if they're at each other, then they're also going to feel that as well.
Yeah.
And feeling that, your parents are like close and happy and love and wanting to embrace you, feeling more relaxed and calm.
I always loved seeing my parents under that mistletoe.
Yeah.
And they seemed to take a lot, like they would walk through that one doorway like a lot.
I was about to say, knowing your parents, they probably have mistletoe just hanging all over.
I just forgot where I was standing.
They just wear a hat with no name, a mistletoe hat.
Yeah.
Well, I think also too that that one, it helps regulate the nervous system. The other thing though is that I feel that it gives like a lot of energy. And
like a charge.
Yeah, exactly. There gives like a charge, like a pep to the step, and you get excited to like see your partner. You get turned on by them, but then you just also are kind of oriented outwardly towards the space in a more charged and excited way because things look novel and new and your body's feeling good.
I also think that when you're a kid, you try real hard to be nice because if you're naughty, you don't get any gifts from Santa. But I think when you're an adult being naughty, you're getting way more gifts, and who cares about Santa? So I do think there's the element of the cheekiness that can be really good for people. And if being cheeky and naughty is not at all appealing, it is a beautiful gift to keep creating a beautifully connected connection. So that is charged. It's not just like, have you done this? Have you done that? Did you get this? And where's the kids? Because that's also very taxing.
Yes. Well, that's maybe another part too, is that added charge allows, and the ability to like regulate my nervous system, I think also allows me to be and exist in a more of a creative space as opposed to just like a to-do list space. So even though over the holidays you might not be working, you start to find more creative ways to have fun though and enjoy, or even if you're having discussions, to look at things from different perspectives than you have.
Well, let's look at like if people actually took this on and had regular quickies. What's the impact? And let's look at it from a perspective of positive impact, the things that actually make things thrive, and also look at it from negative impact and how it actually can disintegrate.
All right. Well, what I've seen it do for couples is, one, I feel like the level of appreciation and adoration of a partner like stays really high. Like both partners typically feel really appreciated and really desired if the quickies are something that's experienced, like that it's a good experience.
Yes. This is important, right? Because maybe one of the partners is the one that carries more of the stress and the other one's the happy-go-lucky partner. And so that's also important to understand, like, how do you regulate both of those personality types? And so I think it's having a way to connect and like, hey, baby, I really want to help you with this huge list of things we need to do today. I'm going to help you a lot better if we connect right now. And you just even take a moment it doesn't have to be sex. It could be a kiss. It could be a hug, a really delicious hug. And it could be some fondling. It could be oral. And it could be all those things. But having that moment to really stay like, I want to participate in helping with all of this. And it's way more fun when we're connected. And right now, if I don't have sex for 3 weeks, I'm going to be really not a nice person to be around. So...
Okay. Well, that would work for me.
Yeah, exactly. So you spoke earlier about quickies like charging, but what's the negative side?
Well, I think the way that a lot of people will approach a quickie is sort of the opposite of what we were speaking about. So as opposed to it being creative, it can be rather routine.
Oh, like it's always the same.
Always the same things you do. Now, that could also be the nice thing about a quickie, because you just jump in and
you know what's going to happen.
You know what's going to happen. You know it's going to be like good for what it is, and then you kind of move on. But I would say that that a lot of times that can lose the interest, though, like once you're no longer kind of the young couple, and you're like, okay, well, this is here, and you kind of do it just to like get the other one over the edge, which I think leads me into that second piece, is that as opposed to it being charging, a lot of people kind of look at it as a way to discharge.
Okay, what do you mean by that? Like they're agitated.
Stretched. It's like I have an itch, I need to scratch it. You know? Okay. It's like, or I'm super horny, and so I need to get rid of this horniness. Yeah. So just get me off, which then leads you into the expectation that it needs to end with coming, one way or the other. And then you kind of go, into the performance, and you're like, well, how long is this going to take? It's not going to be a quickie because maybe it won't happen that fast. And then next thing you know, kind of spitting
or the performance anxiety to make it happen.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So do you feel that you get more energy from it? Definitely encourage you to have more quickies. If you feel that it's taken the energy away from you,
how then could you do it differently?
Well, that's kind of, we'll get into that in the second part, into the how. But it's an important piece, though, to recognize that maybe one of the reasons you don't like a quickie and you feel that it's distracting and doesn't make you creative is because it kind of, you're using it typically to discharge your energy to go to sleep, before bed. And so then next thing you know, you're like, well, I would never do this in the middle of the day because then I'm just going to throw off my whole day.
Yeah. Well, I'm just really curious, too, like for people who are like, we are going to talk about the how shortly in a few minutes in the explicit part. But in this part, could we give just a little tip, like something to make a quickie like more fun? Because you were saying like for some people, the spontaneity is really fun, but then it doesn't work for people that have anticipation. Could you just touch on that a little bit?
Well, and we'll go into some more in the other one, but in the second half, but really talking about not just the physical arousal part and keeping that high, but then also keeping the mental arousal part high. Okay. So here's a good thing. So a lot of times people that will experience a quickie as a good thing is because they experience it as it's like connecting. Or when it's typically something that's not as good is when it's like, okay, I do this just to appease my partner.
Okay. Yeah. And appeasement is not a great.
Yeah, because you're like, I need to take care of this other chore that I'm doing. And that normally leads to the person.
Unless you can find pleasure in the appeasement.
Well, that's the thing. Some people, though, it's like, I like to appease them. I love that I have that power, which then gets you into this empowered role. It's like, I can get my partner to come and just
feel good,
feel great, and and then help me with whatever else I need throughout the rest of the day.
Yeah, like, okay, they're grumpy. Let me do this.
And that's the difference between, feeling used.
Yeah.
But, maybe too, though, like, if you feel that you completely hate it, though, then you're just using the other person to do it. And that doesn't really feel so good either.
Exactly.
However, though, when you get onto the other side, that you're like, it makes us feel connected, even though maybe you don't physically enjoy it as much, but you're like, we feel connected. We go about the day. We have a really good day. So I'm going to take this person or
be taken.
Be taken as well. So
I have this funny flash in my head of like, just being surrounded by all these open gifts that are being wrapped and just like there's absolute chaos and there's this like list of things to do still, and then suddenly having my partner like just clear a space away from all the wrapping paper and just take me right there just for a few minutes, and then like, all right, we're good, and I'm like, what just happened? I think that could be fun.
Love that feeling of like when you do that and your partner's just like, it takes like a few moments to like come back to, and then they like all energize and go about their day. Yeah. Well, to answer your question though about the mental arousal part, because I think this really makes a big difference between are you connecting or are you just appeasing. And if you are a person, for instance, who gets really turned on by spontaneity, then quickie is kind of like an easy one for you. But if you're on the other end of the spectrum where you're like, no, I like to anticipate it, feel that build up and everything, then a quickie could feel like, you're just being used. However, if you know, though, that your partner loves anticipation, then you can drop like little hints throughout the day.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't wait to like when we are making dinner, and I know there's going to be that moment where we're both in the food pantry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm just going
to
get my mouth all over you.
Yeah.
And so then now every time like you go into the food pantry, you're going to see if I'm coming in there, or maybe I'll go in, but I won't do anything the first several times.
Yeah, I'm like, well, when's it going to happen?
Exactly. Right? So then you build the anticipation for the spontaneity. That means it's going to happen when they don't know, but they know that it's going to happen. So that way you can start to like play with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Other people, maybe they like power or whatever else. So then it's like when you grab their attention, like you really command them in that
or
moment.
like, come with me now.
Come with me now. Or, you grab under their chin and just like really have them look at you in the eye. Or you just come up behind them and like kind of overpower them and kiss them on their back.
I also really like say that it's a lot of busyness and both people are really like they're on their task and they're getting things done and then it's like, oh yeah, I really need you right now. I'm like, what? I really need you. Please come help me for a second. And then they come in and you pounce on them.
Jeez. All right. Well, it sounds like we're going to have to get into some stories here.
Okay. Well, let's shift to explicit because I'm too excited.
Well, and in the explicit, we're going to be talking about how to really get the most out of a quickie, typical challenges that come up,
challenges,
how to overcome them, and
the types.
What are the different types of quickies? All right.
Well, here we go. To join us for the complete and explicit version of this podcast, just simply upgrade your membership and you'll get instant access.